Right. So after seeing that video, okay, you have any questions with respect to that? Okay. So NAT is not much complicated content, but there are certain things, there are certain terminologies, certain discussions that are very specific to your Juniper SRX. What I mean to say that, as of now, whatever the product that you have worked on, so there will be some general, what is it called, the NAT discussions you would have had, like static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAD. That's what we normally used to have it. But here we are going to be discussing something called as what? A unidirectional NAT and bidirectional NAT. I have explained you that on my video, I guess. Remember? So unidirectional NAT means what? The translation is going to be happening when the traffic has been initiated on a specific direction, right? So the direction is playing a very vital role with respect to unidirectional translations. When it comes to bidirectional NAT, of course, the direction plays a very vital role in performing the translation. But the thing is, what kind of a translation is going to be performed? Without knowing about the difference between the unidirectional NAT and bidirectional NAT, getting into configuring a bidirectional NAT like static NAT is not going to be providing you any value. For example, I think I have also explained the scenario for bidirectional NAT, like mail servers you will be having, and the mail server may be receiving the request from the external network. At the same time, the mail server could also be initiating the request. So that is the situation where you have to go for bidirectional NAT. Other than that, all you have to do is simply go for a unidirectional NAT. Unidirectional NAT, we have a couple of types, right? I think my mouse is not So unidirectional NAT, we have a couple of NAT types as well. So we typically categorize the unidirectional NAT into two. One is called as the source NAT, the other one is called as the destination NAT. So source NAT is nothing but the source address of the received packet is going to be translated, which is called as a source NAT. If in case if I'm going to be translating the destination IP address of the received packet, then I call it as a destination NAT. That's the key difference between source NAT and destination NAT. When do we perform the source NAT? Whenever you have your internal network, they are in private IP segment, and you wanted to go for allowing these people to access the internet. By that time, the return traffic may not come back if I am going to be keeping the same private IP address as the source IP address, because the private addresses are not routable from the public network, whereas the public addresses are routable from the private network also. We don't have any issues. So the request can go, but the responses cannot come back. To have the responses to be received while the traffic is being forwarded by the firewall or any of the NAT device, we will translate the private source address to a publicly routable source IP address so that the return traffic can come back. Then when do we go for destination NAT? Destination NAT will be performed when we have when you have an internal service that needs to be accessed from the public network, right? Because my internal service is hosted with a private IP address, probably. So what I wanted to do is these private addresses are not routable from the public network. So we need to have the reachability of this service. So I'm taking a public IP address, and that public IP address is going to be translated to or mapped to a private IP address on which the service has been hosted. So when a NAT device receives the traffic to that particular public IP address, that IP address will be translated to the mapped IP address. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so this is what the destination NAT is all about. Bidirectional NAT, the request may be initiated from the internal network, or the request might be initiated from the external network, depending on the case. Either the source or the destination address will be translated. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So what is going to be your first preference when the translations are going to be performed? Upon receiving, the static NAT is going to be verified. If a match found in the static NAT policies, accordingly the translations are going to be performed. If no match found on the static NAT rule, then the destination NAT rule is what I'm going to be checking it up. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so static NAT and then followed by your destination NAT. Okay, so what is that we have to do if you have a static NAT? Then the translations are going to be mapped to a specific address, right? If it is going to be a static NAT or a destination NAT, probably we would be doing a public to private IP address mapping. So after the translation, what would be the the route, do I have a route to reach the destination or not? According to the route reachability, I will know that what is my egress zone. What I mean to say that, see, what basically happens, the packet is received on one of the interface, right? The packet is received on one of the interface. Then I'm just going to be checking, do I have any matching static NAT rule or not? Okay. If I don't have a matching static NAT rule, then I'm going to be checking a destination NAT matching or not. That means, what I mean to say, if there is no match in static NAT rule section, only then I will be checking the destination NAT. Assuming that you have a match found in static NAT, then I don't need to check the destination NAT rule section at all. Right? Now, assuming that there is a match found in the static NAT, then what is that has to happen? Reachability check needs to happen. If the translated address is reachable or not. Sorry. Right? That means what basically we will be doing is the route lookup. Assume that there is no route is available for the translated address. Immediately the packet is going to be dropped over here. Assuming that a match found, I have a route, then I know what is my destination zone as well, right? If the destination zone means, once I know the source zone, the ingress zone and the egress zone, I just need to check the policy. You understand? So policy, according to the policy, if the traffic is going to be dropped, then drop it. Got it? If the policy permits the traffic, then the traffic can be permitted to pass through. Oh my God. 1 minute. I'm just disconnecting and reconnecting once again. Screen is visible now? Oh, yeah, it's visible. Yeah. Okay, now the traffic is permitted to pass through. Okay, now we were talking about the static NAT and destination NAT. Okay, what happens to your source NAT? Source NAT is going to be performed only when the traffic is going to be sent out via an egress interface. So assume that the policy lookup, all these things are happened, right? Then when the packet is being sent out, before, this is where the permission, okay, the permit packet on the interface, this is where the source NAT will be performed. So when the while the traffic is being sent out via an egress interface, the source NAT is going to be performed. So the first check will be on static NAT, the second check will be on the destination NAT, and the third final check will be on the source NAT. Anyway, the static NAT is matching, this is what is going to be happening. If the destination NAT is matching, of course the reachability check is going to be happening once again. So when the static NAT or destination NAT is matching, according to the translated address, do I have the reachability of this destination or not after the translation? If the reachability is there, then only I come to know that the policy needs to be checked. Which policy I have to check, whether it is an intra-zone policy or inter-zone policy. Hello? Am I audible? Correct. Correct. Right. So while the traffic is being sent on the, on the egress interface, before it is being sent out on the egress interface, the source NAT verification will happen. According to a match found, the traffic is going to be translated with the source IP address. Okay. Now, there is one more thing. This is for the first packet, okay? What will happen for the return traffic? See, the traffic is going out or coming in, whatever it might be. That's the first packet matching. Okay? Now, what will happen for the return traffic? You will be having a translation table. You will be having the route table. You will also be having the policy table. All of them are going to be maintained in your routing table, will be there in a separate place. Policy are being extracted before I send the traffic out. I will be storing that information in my session table. Of course, the translation details are also going to be stored in the translation table. When the return traffic comes in, I will check the session details as well as the translation table. Accordingly, the traffic is going to be forwarded. Do I have to do the lookups and all? Yes. It is there. Okay. Is that clear? But one more thing. See, when I do the when I do the static NAT, I normally do the private IP address to public IP address matching. Correct? This is what I normally do, static NAT. Now what I want is, see, if the traffic is being initiated on the other side, then static NAT is not going to be the first thing I will be matching it, right? I will be matching something called as what? The reverse static NAT. That will be happening here. After policy checkup only, we call something called as reverse static NAT. This is where the reverse static NAT will be happening. After the policy gets verified. Other side, yeah. No. First route checkup, then policy checkup, then the reverse static NAT will be happening. Yes. No, it's not from outside. How we are doing the static NAT. One side is one thing, the other side is the other thing. Give me a minute, I'm just getting a call. Hello? Yes? Okay. ஆமாங்க, ஆக்சுவலாக வந்து நான் ஊரில் இருக்கிற வரைக்கும் நான் போயிட்டு செக்கு கொடுத்துக்கிட்டு இருந்தேன். இப்போ லாஸ்ட் மந்த்தும் நான் கேட்டிருந்தேன். அப்போவும் வந்து பேமெண்ட் லிங்க் கொடுக்குறதுக்கு லேட் ஆச்சு. அதனால தான் நான் போன மாதத்தோட பேமெண்ட்டே வந்து லேட்டாக கட்டினது. பேமெண்ட் லிங்க் வந்ததுக்கப்புறம் தான் கட்டினேன் நான். எனக்கு பேமெண்ட் லிங்க் அனுப்பிச்சிங்கன்னா ஐ வில் பி ஏபிள் டு மேக் த பேமெண்ட். எனக்கு ஆகஸ்ட் ஒரு 1 வீக்கில் அனுப்பிச்சிடுறீங்களா? ஒரே நிமிஷமா. சொல்லுங்கள். 044 57 8662. ஓகே. மகாலட்சுமிங்களா? இல்லைம்மா, அது என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் ஆகுதுன்னா என்னோடய சிக்னேச்சர் மிஸ்மேட்ச் ஆகுது. ஆக மாட்டேங்குது. அது என்னென்னா, ஈவன் பேங்க் மேனேஜரோட கேவிபியில் உட்காந்தும் சரி, ஆக்சஸ்லேயும் சரி, அவங்க கண்ணு முன்னாடியே போடுறேன். பட் ஸ்டில் இட் இஸ் நாட் மேட்சிங். அதுக்கு வேறு நிறைய ப்ரொசீஜர் சொல்கிறாங்கம்மா. அது ஏன்னா நான் ரொம்ப வருஷமாக வந்து ஆன்லைன் ட்ரான்சாக்ஷன்ஸ் தான் பண்ணுறேன். செக்கே நான் கொடுக்கறது கிடையாது. இப்போ என்னோடய ஃபர்ஸ்ட்டு செக் புக் பார்த்தீங்கன்னால அதுலேயே இன்னும் ஒரு 7 லீஃப் இருக்குது. அக்கௌண்ட் ஓப்பன் பண்ண 2005 ஓப்பன் பண்ண அக்கௌண்ட்டு. அப்போ அந்த செக் லீஃப் கூட இப்போ இன்வேலிட் இல்லை. அது என் ஒய்ஃபும் ஊரில் இல்லை. ஒய்ஃபில் இருந்தாங்கன்னா கொடுத்துருவேன். சரிங்கம்மா, உங்களுக்கு ட்ரை பண்ணிப்பேன். gmail.com. ஆமாம், சரிங்க. ஆனால் இப்போ இந்த பேமெண்ட் லிங்க்கு அதை அனுப்பிச்சிடுவீங்களா? சரி மேம். அதில் அதுக்கும் அந்த இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ரேட் வருங்களா? ஓகே. அந்த இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ரேட் இதுக்கும் அப்ளிகபிளா? போன தடவை பேசினதுக்கப்புறம் அதை கட் பண்ணியிருந்தாங்க. இப்போது லேட் பேமெண்ட் ஃபீன் போடுவீங்கள்ல? ஆமாம், வராது. ஜூலை இது இல்லைம்மா. லாஸ்ட் டைம் கூட நான் சொல்லியிருந்தேன், நான் ஊரில் இல்லாததுனால தான் அதை பே பண்ண முடியல அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்புறம் அவங்க கட் பண்ணி தான் கொடுத்துருந்தாங்க எனக்கு. ஓகே. சரிங்க. சரிங்க. இல்லைங்க. ஆமாங்க 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 ம் ம் சரிங்க. ஹலோ சரியா hello, can you hear me? Oh, sorry, my housing loan payment is pending for me. Since my signature mismatch is there. That's why people will keep on calling me to do that ACH mandate. Okay, so, oh, fine, yeah. Hope you are able to see my screen. Okay, right. See, the traffic is going to be initiated on one direction. Let's say that the traffic is received on the outbound direction. Okay, assume like this. The traffic is received on this direction. Now, what basically happens? Still, it is going to be checking the source net. Do you think that there will be a match? Do you think there will be a match? Yes, of course, because we are mapping the static to destination, the one-to-one mapping we are doing it. So when the traffic is received on one of the direction from the external world, the static net will be matching. So that is where if a match found, immediately the traffic is going to be translated, then the reachability check, then the policy lookup will be happening. Well and good, not a problem at all. But what if the traffic is being initiated from the internal side? What would be the match? See, when you're matching the private IP address to a public IP address, the connection is going to be initiated from the internal direction. Okay, the traffic is going out to the external world, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? By that time, the static net is going to be matching or not? Correct. Now on the other side, the traffic is being initiated, the request has been initiated. That is where the reverse net comes into picture. Reverse static net comes into picture. Probably when we, okay, I'll do one thing. I'll explain you with a different image. I'll do an image, or else finally we will be talking about something called as what a packet flow. By that time, still you will be able to understand in a better way. Don't worry, I'll explain that in a different manner. Don't worry. Okay. So this is just a diagram that you need to understand when the static net is going to be happening, when the destination net lookup will happen, when that source net lookup and the translations are going to be performed. Okay. So basically we know that there are different types of NATs are there. What is that? NAT. When it comes to NAT, we know that source NAT, then we also have destination NAT, we also have the static NAT. Types: unidirectional and bidirectional. Okay, this is what we know. Basically 3 types of NATs are possible. Of course, the subtypes are also there. What do you mean by that? See, when I say source NAT, where is my mouse? Here it is. When I talk about the source NAT, okay, basically what is that source NAT? The source address of the received packet is going to be translated to something else. That's what the source NAT is all about, correct? Okay, when it comes to source NAT, the source address can be translated to the interface IP address, the egress interface IP address. That is one type of source NAT. When I am taking the help of egress interface and the whole internal devices or internal IP addresses are going to be translated to a single interface IP, expect that always PAT is also going to be performed. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. The second thing is, the second type of source NAT, we typically call it as pool NAT. That means we are going to be creating a pool, and that pool is going to be mapped to a specific traffic. If a match found, the translations are going to be performed according to the pool NAT. Right? This is what we typically call it as a dynamic NAT in Cisco. But here there is a small variation. What is that variation? While I perform the pool NAT, whether the PAT is going to be required or not is your choice. What we normally call it as PAT or no PAT. I have 2 options. So when I say PAT, Along with the IP address, the internal source port number will also be, the received packet source port address also will be translated. That is called PAT. If I don't want the translations on the port number has to happen, then I can go for an option called as fixed port, which is called as without PAT. With or without PAT, it's up to you. How do you want it to do it? So we know egress interface based address, egress interface address based translation. The second type of translation is called as a pool NAT. Means we create a pool, and that pool is going to be associated with a set of traffic. If a match found from the pool, one of the IP address is going to be chosen for the translation. While I do the translation, PAT is required or not, it's up to your choice. Normally in Cisco, the source port address will be performed. We don't have a choice of disabling the port translations on Cisco. Okay? And then we normally call this as the third according to the book, but actually speaking it is the fourth option. Why? Because egress interface is one, pool NAT with PAT is the second, pool NAT without PAT is called as a third option. Okay? The fourth or third, however you want, you identify this one, and we call this as, where is that? My mouse, address shifting. This is called 1-to-1 mapping. Okay? What is that difference between this and pool NAT? That might be the question. Address shifting is also a pool. Okay? We create a pool of address shifting methodology. So what's the difference between pool NAT and address shifting? Okay, let's say that I have an IP address 10.1.1.0/24 is mapped to 1.1.1.0/24 as a pool NAT. Okay. Now the request is coming from 10.1.1.100. That's the first client who has initiated a request. Let's assume like that. Now what will be the IP address will be used for translation? The first IP address from the pool, which is going to be 1.1.1.1. Right? Then a request is coming from 10.1.1.1. What will be the one? 1.1.1.2. Okay? Now assume that this connection got terminated or the system got rebooted. Which one? 10.1.1.100 got rebooted. The session has been cleared. Now the request is coming from 10.1.1.100. Do you think you will still get 1.1.1.1 as an IP address for the translation? No. Right? It will be picked at random. Whatever the IP address is available from the pool, that will be picked up. Correct? Okay. Now let's see that one. Instead of, what is it called? Oh my God. Now I'm not going to be using a pool NAT. Instead, I'm going to be using the address shifting. Okay. Let's assume this is going to be address shifting. What we have seen was pool NAT. Okay. This is address shifting. Now let's assume that the request is coming from 10.1.1.100. Sorry. What will be the IP address mapped? If in case pool NAT, the first IP address from the pool. Okay. Even I could have the number of addresses in the pool lesser than the available actual set of IP addresses. I can say that 1.1.1.0/28 also I can assign it. Correct? In case of a pool NAT. But in case of address shifting, that is not the case. How many IP addresses you have in my real IP address, the same number of IP addresses you have to map it in address shifting. If you have 10 IP addresses in the private, then you have to have 10 IP addresses in the pool as well for address shifting. Right? How the mapping will happen? The first address will be mapped to first address, second address will be mapped to second address, third will be mapped to third, fourth will be mapped to fourth. Regardless of whether they are talking or not, doesn't matter. If that is the case, when 10.1.1.100 is initiating a connection request, what will be the IP address used for translation? 1.1.1.100. This is the difference between pool NAT and address shifting. It is one. It is not in the it's a kind of, it's a one-to-one mapping. I told you, right? Here, it is one-to-one mapping. Then in this there is no option of enabling PAT. It is fixed port. No PAT. Whatever the port number the client has generated, the same port number will be used here as well. You're getting my point, right? So this is what the source address types that we need to understand. Okay, clear? Huh? Oh, now let's clear this one. Okay. Now here, let's say how the configurations are going to be happening with respect to source NAT. While you're doing the configuration, first thing, you have to match, right? You have to match, right? And then the second thing what you can do is an action to be taken, as like any policy. When it comes to match for NAT rules, first match is going to be direction match. Because it's unidirectional NAT, right? Source NAT is what we are talking about. That means source address of the received packet is going to be translated. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so the direction of the traffic is very important. Right, how do we specify? We can say that from zone to zone. If the traffic is coming from trust going to untrust, like that we can mention it. That is the first thing. Okay, and then the second match condition means first match is going to be the direction, the second specific match is going to be on packet, and this will be done using match statement itself. Okay, so first match is going to be helping us to find the direction of the traffic. The second condition, second match criteria will help us to identify the packet details. If the traffic is if the source address of the packet is so and so and the destination IP address is going to be so and so, like that we can match it. You understand? Okay. Now, action can be, what is that? We can turn off the NAT. That means identity NAT is what the terminology we use it in Cisco. Right? We don't want to perform the translation. Especially when you're sending the traffic through the VPN, we don't want it to perform it, right? Then we have an option to do the pool NAT. Then we have an option to do the interface based NAT. Getting my point, right? So these are all the possible things that we will be able to do it. Okay, so let's see how this is going to be performed using your conditions. Okay, where is my, here it is. Oi. Yeah. Okay. So, what is that I have to do? First of all, we know the hierarchy is going to be maintained. First of all, NAT is going to be a feature of a security package. So, I just need to get into edit security NAT. Okay. So, I have to get into the hierarchy. No, it's not that you have to get into the hierarchy. Just to understand where this set of commands are organized. That's why I'm just giving the command like this. Edit security NAT. Now, I'm inside the NAT. Under this, I'll be having a variety of NATs. See here, what and all. See, let me say edit. I can see the options. What are all the options I have? If I would like to perform the source NAT, I just need to get into the hierarchy of source. Destination NAT means destination. Then, yes, okay. Now I'm performing the source NAT, okay. I'm just saying source. Now which hierarchy I'm in? Security NAT source. So whatever the configuration I do here will be related to the source NAT related configuration, okay. Now what is that I have to do? It's set. I can configure something called as a rule set. Policies, right? Policy is nothing but rule base. Now I can give a name for this rule set. Let me call this as whatever the name that you want. Okay, SNAT R1, rule 1, rule set 1, whatever it might be. Okay, now I have to say I can create the rule means if I can create a rule means I can create a rule also, but I'm just simply saying from zone I have an option. It's not that zone has to be the only option in from class. See what are the option I have. I can say that from interface, from routing instance, or from zone. It's not that I have to use only zone as my from class. We know what is routing instance, we know what is interface. Am I right or not? While we had the discussions with respect to the architecture, we have gone through this. Correct? Okay. Now, so from zone trust to zone, from zone trust, then to zone untrust. So this is my condition here. Under the source, right, under the NAT source, I have created a rule set with the name of SNAT R1, where the traffic direction has been identified as from zone is trust, to zone is untrust. Okay. Even you can also be very specific. From zone is one interface, to zone is another interface. You can do that also. But I'm just taking a case here. Okay. Now, inside this, I'm going to be creating a rule. The direction has been set. Rule set so and so has been configured. Now, rule 1, whatever the name you want. Okay. Let's say VLAN 10. Here, matching of packet is happening. Match source address. What is that? 10.1.1.0/24. Then the destination address. You can say that destination address is 0.0.0.0/0. This is my match condition. Then I can also say that destination IP address, destination port number. You can do anything you want. I'm just giving you an example of it. Okay. Now on the rule number, rule name of so and so, right, VLAN 10, I'm giving an action associated with. Then can you see that source NAT? What are all the options I have? I can off. You remember we said off. We can go for a pool. We can also go for interface. Now I'm just telling you only the interface. Interface. That's it. Over. Interface based translation got over. Now check it out. What is that I have done? See that? Can you see that? So I'm creating a rule set of SNAT R1. The traffic direction is from zone trust to zone untrust. Rule which I have created is okay. Rule number VLAN 10, rule identification is VLAN 10, where I'm identifying the traffic with the match condition. Source address is 10.1.1.0, destination address is 0.0.0.0. If the condition is matching, then perform the source address translation on the egress interface IP address. Clear? This is how we will be performing the source address translation with the interface IP address. Please be sure that you have a traffic policy to permit the traffic as well. Because NAT rules are only for performing the translations, whereas you need the security policy to permit the traffic. Both are independent. Right? You might have the translation rule alone. If you don't have that policy, then obviously the traffic is not going to be permitted to pass through. You remember that image we have seen? First static NAT we are seeing it, and then don't forget it. Okay, so this is how we will be doing it. Now, if I have to do something called as what a pool, I can create a pool. Pool 1, define the pool. I can say address. What is the address we wanted to go for? 81.1.1.0/24. Right? I have created a pool of /24. You're getting my point, right? Now, all I have to do is what? Set rule set SNAT R1. Rule VLAN 11, just for an example, okay? Match 10.1.11.0/24. Sorry, match source address 10.1.11.0/24. Destination address can be anything. I can also simply leave this field. It's okay. I can also be very specific about the destination port 80, right? Then I'm going to be doing pool source net pool. I have an option, pool 1 is there, right? Pool 1. Now if I give the question mark, do I have anything except the, what is that called, persistent net? I don't have anything. Then how do I disable the port address translation, or the port address translation is enabled or not? I don't know. How do I? Okay, now let me tell you how this is going to be done. While you are creating the pool itself, you will do that. Okay, let me go there, edit pool 1, see, set port. See, can you see that no translation? If I set this one, then what will happen? That's all. By default, the port address translation is going to be performed. Within the pool, I have an option to set it out. What? Hello? Am I audible? Okay. See, basically while you are defining the pool, you have the option of specifying whether you want it to perform the I understand. Okay. No problem. No. I thought I lost you. That's why. That's why I asked you. Probably it might be asking for some food. Probably. Okay. So when you disable that one, automatically the what is it called? I forgot what I was talking about. Correct. So by default, the port address translation is going to be happening. But if you don't want the port address translation, then you can go ahead and add the keyword called as what? That's all. Okay. Now there is also one more keyword that you need to understand. Where is my? Oh my God. There is also one more point. Edit pool. Sorry. Edit source, edit pool, AS pool, right? Okay, just creating this pool. Now all I have to do here is, what is that I have to do is, while I'm creating the pool, I just need to give the IP addresses over there. That's what I do is, right? That's what I'll be doing is, while I'm creating the pool, what is that I have to do? Hello? Am I audible for you? The voice is breaking for me. I don't know. I don't know what is going on. Okay, then as long as it is good, then we don't need to worry about it. Okay. See, basically what is that going to be happening while we are trying to work with the what is it called, the address shifting. Okay, the address shifting, we have to be very sure how this is going to be happening. Okay, we have created a pool. Then while pool has been created, see, where is my pool? I can say that set address, IP address is going to be, let's say 1.1.2. Let's say 5. It can be anything, 2.0/24. That's the pool, we have it. Okay, so 1.1.2.0/24. okay, now I'm going to be creating a rule. Set rule set snat rule 1, rule VLAN 11, match source address 10.1.11.0/24, destination address I least bothered. Okay, now I say, what is that? Then pool, then source net pool, AS pool. Do I have any options here? It is equivalent to the same thing, right? Okay, but sorry. Okay, there's one section I forgot the command actually. Pool 1 set base something will be there. Host address base. This is what the keyword that we will be using it under the pool. Okay, under the pool source host address base. The base address is what we are calling it as. Under the pool, we're saying 10.1.11.1 or 11.0 is what we have done. That means the first address of this 11.0 will be mapped to 1.1.2.0. That's the pool we have, right? Okay, I'll show you that. See, 1.1.2.0/24 is the pool address, and we set the base address as what? 10.1.11.0. That means this is where the mapping is going to be starting from. So 10.1.11.0 will be mapped to 1.1.2.0. 10.1.11.1 will be mapped to 1.1.2.1. 10.1.11.2 will be mapped to 1.1.2.2. Like that, it will go on. That's how the mapping is going to be happening. You understand what is it I'm trying to do? Oh, okay. So that's the way the source address translation is going to be performed. So we have seen different types of translations under your source NAT itself. Okay. One more thing we need to understand. So while we do the source address static NAT, when we do the static NAT, I already told you that while I'm explaining you about what is it called on the diagram part. Okay. Where is my diagram? Oh, I deleted it. Okay. So let's first thing, the static NAT is going to be verified on the image. Then destination NAT check will happen. In both the cases, what is that going to be happening? Reachability check. Yeah, route lookup. Reachability check. Accordingly, then the policy lookup will be happening. The reachability is not there, the packet will be dropped. There is no matching in the static, only then the destination lookup will be happening. If it is matching here, destination matching is here, then the policy says permit the traffic or no match or drop the traffic. Dropping will happen. The policy is permitting the traffic. That's where the SNAT will be performed. Then the traffic will go out. Okay. So this is for external to internal. Source NAT, this is where I was talking about the reverse NAT, correct? The reverse static NAT is going to be considered when you are initiating the traffic from the internal source for which you have a static NAT bind. This is where the source address, when you have a static NAT mapped, this will not be matching, correct? Do you think this will be matching? This will not be matching. For the destination address only, this will be matching. The same thing here also, the destination address only will be matching. So both of them are not matching. The policy is saying permitting the traffic. While the traffic is being sent out, I'm going to be checking whether the source address needs to be translated. Do I have a static NAT rule? The reverse static NAT entry is matching or not. If I have a match found, accordingly the traffic will be forwarded and the translated and forwarded. No match found, then I will check the source NAT rule. Do I have a match in source NAT rule? If a match found, accordingly the address will be translated and the traffic will be forwarded out. Is that clear now? Okay. Now what if I change the pool? If I'm modifying the pool, then obviously all of my existing NAT sessions are going to be cleared. Don't forget that one. See, after you do the configuration, the NAT is going to be performed according to the configuration, whatever you have done, correct? Okay. Assuming that the configurations are done properly, and the translations is going on. Now, we also know that the translation details are going to be stored in a table called as translation table or XLET table from Cisco, right? While the traffic is going on and the translations are performed based on your existing configuration, which refers a pool, and you modify that pool, all of your NAT pools are going to be, the sessions are going to be teared down. It will reset. So don't modify the pool just like that. Got it?